Nimrod is a biblical figure mentioned in the book of Genesis and books of Chronicles. The son of Cush and therefore a great-grandson of Noah, Nimrod was described as a king in the land of Shinar, Mesopotamia. The Bible states that he was a mighty hunter before the Lord and began to be mighty in the earth. Later extra-biblical traditions identified Nimrod as a ruler who commissioned the construction of the Tower of Babel, which led to his reputation as a king who was rebellious against God. Nimrod has not been attested in any other historic, non-biblical registers. Historians have failed to match Nimrod with any historical attested figures. Several ruins of the Middle East have been named after him. The first biblical mention of Nimrod is in the Table of Nations. He is described as son of Cush, grandson of Ham, and great-grandson of Noah, and as a mighty man, one in the earth, and a mighty hunter before the Lord. This is repeated in the first book of Chronicles 1:10, and the land of Nimrod used for Assyria or Mesopotamia is mentioned in the book of Micah 5:6. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod in the entrance thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. Genesis says at the beginning of his kingdom were the towns of Babel, Iraq, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Genesis 10:10 understood variously to imply that he either founded these cities, ruled over them, or both, owing to an ambiguity in the original Hebrew text. It is unclear whether it is he or Ashur who additionally built Nineveh, Resen, Rehoboth, and Kala. Sir Walter Rake devoted several pages in his History of the World to reciting past scholarship regarding the question of whether it had been Nimrod or Ashur who built the cities in Assyria. In Hebrew and Christian tradition, Nimrod is considered the leader of those who built the Tower of Babel in the land of Shinar, though the Bible never actually states this. Nimrod's kingdom included the cities of Babel, Iraq, Akkad, and perhaps Calneh in Shinar. Since Akkad was destroyed and lost with the destruction of its empire in the period 2200 till 2154 BC, the stories mentioning Nimrod seems to recall the late early Bronze Age. The association with Iraq, a city that lost its prime importance around 2000 BCE as a result of struggles between Isen, Larsa, and Elam, also attests the early province of the stories of Nimrod. According to some modern-day theorists, their placement in the Bible suggests a Babylonian origin, possibly inserted during the Babylonian captivity. Nimrod was an ancient ruler of the Mesopotamia area known as Shinar. His empire flourished in the centuries following the flood, described in Genesis 6. According to the Hebrew Bible, Nimrod was the son of Cush and the grandson of famed shipbuilder Noah. His name appears 4 times in the Hebrew Bible. In Genesis 10:8-9, Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. In 1 Chronicles 1:10, and Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be mighty upon the earth. In Micah 5:6, and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from Assyrians, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. The Bible indicates that Nimrod was a man of great power and refers to him specifically as a mighty hunter before the Lord. When translated literally from the original language, this phrase more accurately reads a mighty hunter in defiance of the Lord. Nimrod was born into a patriarchal form of government. Under this ancient system, women were subject to authority of men, and men themselves followed the dictates and counsels of their families' respective patriarchal figures. Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and other key figures lived under a patriarchal system. Nimrod rebelled against the patriarchal form of government. He preferred a monarchical system with him as a king. Nimrod soon acted upon his ambitions and declared himself king over his own people. This action was tantamount to modern-day treason. In Nimrod's mind, he had freed himself from the shackles of an irrational belief in an invisible God. His desire for the power was thwarted by a rigid patriarchal system in which only the aged could exert ultimate authority over the community. There was no immediate room for him within the top rungs of the ancient power structure. From his action, it is obvious that Nimrod was rebellious, bloodthirsty, and power-hungry. In ancient times, wild beasts were a constant threat to nomadic people. The ancients would often build walls around their villages to protect from both invaders and hungry wild animals. As a highly skilled hunter and warrior, Nimrod was viewed as a protector by his own people. Perhaps this view of Nimrod by his people transformed him into a blind allegiance of the man. While Nimrod inspired the faith and trust of his fellow men, he failed to attribute his strength and skill to the Creator. Instead, he took full credit of his gift in open defiance of the God of Adam, Enoch, and Noah. Nimrod's rebellion against God's use of patriarchal government is at the very root of what the Bible refers to as the spirit of Babylon. The spirit of Babylon is resident within every human endeavor that seeks to operate without God's oversight and blessing. For 6,000 years, mankind's attempt at self-rule had been utterly dismal. Man cannot rule himself outside the authority of God. These people built a vast network of cities and religious complexes centered in Babel or Babylon. The mighty hunter built Erech, called Uruk in the Bible. Erech is 100 miles southeast of Babylon and was the legendary home of the Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was the hero of the Babylonian flood story.